Tighten up.
Yep.
I'm Dave Palumbo, founder of Species Nutrition. From my earliest bodybuilding days, I believed in only putting the best in my body. And that lives on in the Species Nutrition line of products. I put my name and reputation on every bottle of Species Nutrition products. If you want to be your absolute best, join the evolution.
Hey guys, we're super excited to be here at the LA Fit Expo. It's our third year in a row. And what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be launching a tasty pastry. It's a low-carb Pop-Tart. It's got 3 to 4 grams of net carbs. And we love this show. This is our best place to be in LA.
RX Television on rxmuscle.com. This is Ask Dave, better known as hashtag Ask Dave, your 30-minute question and answer show with Dave Palumbo. All your questions, diet, training, supplementation, IABB, pros, bodybuilding, non-bodybuilding, it is all on the tables. Now bringing Dave Palumbo. Dave, yesterday's episode of After Hours, sort of an exclusive with Richard Rodriguez. For those unaware of who that is, maybe, I'm sure you have heard of the Iron Addicts Gym bust of perhaps maybe the biggest steroids bust of the last quarter century. He is fresh out of jail, answered some very tough questions, but a very, very productive back and forth yesterday on After Hours.
Yeah, he's a likable guy. He's a smart guy. He had a very good job, him and his wife, and they just, he tried to take the easy way out. He started a steroid website. He was selling steroids. He was employing like top names in the industry: Kevin Levrone, Flex Wheeler, paying these guys $5,000 a month. Mike Rashid, and he got caught. I mean, he knew he was going to get caught. I don't know how he didn't know he was going to do a lot of time. He thought he was going to only do a very short period of time. I guess they threatened to arrest his wife, and they had a kid at the time too, so he took the blame for both of them. He wound up doing 5 years after all was said and done. I think he got sentenced to 7. It's an interesting interview because I guess there were a lot of celebrities and pro athletes who were going to his website and buying gear from him, and they wanted all these names and everything from. So it was a whole big scandal. I know initially he had mentioned Mark Wahlberg's name and Roman Reigns, the WWE wrestler. I had to ask him what, because he was very vehement that he was not a rat or an informant on anyone, and that he didn't, he did his time. But I was wondering, I had to ask him why he had mentioned those two people's names, and I think he kind of is a little regretful that he did do that at the end of the day, because there was really no reason for it. I think he felt slighted by the fact that they didn't support him, I guess, when he got arrested. But I mean, how could they? They couldn't be associated with that. So. But all in all, it was a very good interview, and like I said, I think he's a good guy at heart, and he was hurt by a lot of the fact that a lot of guys turned on him and became witnesses against him. So it left a sour note in his mouth, I think, initially, and now I think he's kind of moved past it and forgiven everyone. So he's in a good place, right now. Hopefully he can take all that, intelligence he's got and all that ingenuity and marketing, that's what he was. He was a marketing expert, and apply it to something, productive and make some good money for himself. Everyone deserves a second chance. I told him he's welcome on the show anytime. He was a good guest, and thanks John Bravo for facilitating that.
Yeah, big time credit to John Bravo, new member of the After Hours panel, for getting Richard Rodriguez on. Again, if you haven't already watched it, hit the tag and you will see the episode, a very entertaining episode, and of course, a great conversation with Richard Rodriguez. Go to the questions. The first 2 questions of the show from the Dave Palumbo Experience app. First question, Dave, the fiber supplement, he means Fiberlize. He asks, is it for digestive problems? Or what supplement would you recommend for digestive enzymes? So he's asking a couple of different things here. So first of all, I guess, if you want to answer straight away,
I got the gist of the question. The question is, he's having digestive problems, and he wants to know, will Fiberlize help? It seems like that's the question. And obviously it will, because a lot of times people don't move food and waste through their intestinal tract fast enough, and they get backed up, and sometimes that can cause indigestion problems. It can cause gas. It can cause discomfort in the gut. Sometimes people get, gas pain. So definitely taking Fiberlize is going to move stuff through better, and that's going to help your digestion and move the food through your intestinal tract quicker. Now, having said that, some people don't digest their food well because maybe they don't have enough enzyme present. And so people who take enzymes, digestive enzymes with their meals, sometimes that can help them process their food better. But I find that most people's problems are not digestive enzymes. It's the fact that they're just not moving the waste product through their intestinal tract at a good enough rate. So what I would do is use Fiberlyze first, see if that solves your problem. If it doesn't, then you can add in enzymes on top of that. And if that doesn't work, I would probably try a probiotic too. I've mentioned Natron.com sells really good probiotics. Bifidobacter and Negadophilus are two that I like to rotate back and forth. And you could mix that right into your Fiberlyze shake. They have the powdered form of it. That's what I use for, once again, for helping with colon health and in small intestinal health. Because remember, those good bacteria that colonize the small intestine and the large intestine or the colon are what keep the digestive tract healthy. If those probiotic organisms disappear because they're not being fed right, in other words, you're not eating enough fiber, or if you're taking antibiotics or something has destroyed them for whatever reason is going on in your body, you're going to leave your digestive system vulnerable, to irritation, ulceration, and then you're going to have discomfort in your intestinal tract. So that's why I think first let's restore the digestive tract, health, probiotic, Fiberlyze. If that doesn't work, you can add your digestive enzymes in.
Second question, again from the Dave Palumbo Experience app. Doing vacuums seems to be the thing now. What type of workout or techniques would you suggest doing concerning these? And it goes, i.e., say 10 sets of this for 20 to 30 seconds every day.
Yeah, I think a lot of guys practice vacuums because they want to get a vacuum pose, which is the right way to do it. However, I've shown people, I have a video that's very popular. It's called you can put intestinal breathing exercises, RX muscle, into the YouTube search, and you'll come up with our video where I go over something called intestinal breathing exercises, and I learned them in a Korean yoga class. They do this. I do them I've been doing them every day for almost 20 years now. Where you suck your stomach in, you push it out. You suck in, you push it out. Do it in front of the TV. I do it while I'm driving. You do 300. You build up to 300 in a row. And what that does, that will give you a vacuum pose because you're building up the layer of muscle under there called the transverse abdominis muscle, which is what pulls in your organs, and that's what it enables you to do a vacuum pose. So if you do 300 of those in a row per day, there it is. Then you're going to build up the strength to be able to do a really good vacuum. But what you're also doing by doing 300 of these every day is you're actually massaging the organs in there. You're massaging the colon, the intestinal tract, the liver, the kidneys, the spleen. Everything that's in that abdominal cavity is getting squeezed every time you suck your stomach in and push it out. And what that does is it causes the organs to release toxins that they hold, And it makes the organs softer and more pliable like they should be. Because as we get older and they build up toxins in there, they get stiff. I remember when I first went to the Korean yoga class, when they were touching my stomach, it was like a hard rock. And I couldn't figure out what it was. After a couple months of doing these exercises, my stomach got nice and soft to the point. I'm not talking about my abs were soft. I'm talking about I could actually press in my stomach and it actually goes in. It didn't feel like there was like a bowling ball in there. And they said that's because of organ toxicity, and I believe it. And when you first start doing these exercises, you'll have some weird bathroom habits. You'll be moving a lot of waste out of your body. And if you can if you're as neurotic as I am and as OCD, and you can do them every single day and make it part of your ritual, you're going to see some really nice results. And I'm convinced that's what completely changed my whole waistline. I mean, I can vacuum really well now, and I couldn't do that when I was competing. I had, literally, I felt like there was something blocking it in there. And it wasn't my intestines. It was stiffness, probably from so much, all the food I was taking, the drugs I was taking, and my body just wanted to get rid of it. And a lot of times people never get rid of it, and it gets almost calcified over, or connective tissue grows in there and it gets fibrotic. You don't want that to happen. Do these exercises, I'm telling you, every day. You'll be so much healthier. And according to the Koreans, in this yoga class, it helps you with energy circulation. So not just blood circulation and health of the organs, but it helps with your energy circulation, and your brain will be able to think more clearly when you start circulating energy better. So take it for what it's worth. Watch the video.
Let's go to our Instagram questions. Again, if you're not already following us there, the handle is official_RX muscle. If you're watching us for the first time here on YouTube, welcome. We ask that you subscribe below, hit the notification bell. You're not going to miss any of our show segments or updates, especially now that we are incorporating some more live programs into the mix. Of course, now Heavy Muscle Radio has become almost exclusively a live staple. Sunday nights. But again, if you haven't already done so, subscribe below, hit the notification bell. If you like what you're watching, hit the like button, comment below. And as always, we appreciate all of your support. Really good one here. I'm not sure if we've ever discussed this. It's from Evan Lohr. If you were ever given unlimited funds to build a new public gym, and I'm going to maybe take a twist here, public or private, what would it look like? Equipment, pricing, unique features, something to either go up against, say, the LA Fitness of the world or the Gold's Gyms of the world. So if you had your dream gym, what would it look like?
Well, it would be very big. And I would probably, because Chris Aceto and I were talking about this the other day on Heavy Muscle, I would make part of the gym, the back part of the gym, I would have a whole bodybuilding hall of fame I would build on that. That's something that no gym has done. I don't know why Gold's in Venice wouldn't do that, but I would build a bodybuilding hall of fame. That would be the back of the gym where people can walk around and look. I wouldn't have equipment in there necessarily. Maybe some old time equipment as like almost like memorabilia. But I would have that. But the front would be and I don't even know what the latest and greatest is right now. So whatever the latest and greatest equipment is, I would go get that. But I would also get some of the great pieces from the past. And the first person I would call up to help me stock that gym would be my friend Ron Norman, my accountant / best home gym in America guy. He knows equipment better than anyone, and I would have him, and I would go and we would stock the whole gym with what we need in there, and I think he would do a great job. And I would make very modern bathrooms, obviously. Look, I like a hardcore gym, but I also do like air conditioning, so it's not going to be a no air conditioning, sweat, and spit on the floor gym. It would be clean, obviously, but I would definitely have a huge shake bar in there, with the latest and greatest of all the best supplements and all the, every possible shake you can imagine. I would make up my own names. That was always something that I wanted to do. But I really don't want to run a gym, to be honest with you, because the gym is a labor of love. You have to be there. The perfect person I think of when I think of gyms would be Steve Weinberger, Brian Dobson. These are guys that live in the gym, and they're always there. And that's why their gyms are so successful and they do so well, because they are there. You cannot be an absentee gym owner. And I would be an absentee gym owner because I got too much going on, 3 kids. And you know what? The gym would suffer because of that. If you put your life energy into that gym, it's going to be a success. And so at this stage in my life, I don't see myself having a gym. Maybe when I'm like 80 years old and I need a place to hang out because no one else, I have no friends left. I'll build a gym and I'll hang out there all day, like an old fogey, making protein shakes. But yeah, I mean, that's what it would be. I mean, I would do what the old Gold's Venice did. I would have pictures up of all the Mr. Olympias and the Miss Olympias. I would certainly try to get all the current pros to put pictures up in the gym because, after all, that's my roots, bodybuilding. So I would want that on the walls. And I don't think that members would find that intimidating. I think they would find that encouraging to look at all these great pictures and all these people, great bodybuilders from the past and the present, and be inspired by them. So that would certainly be a big part of it.
Let's go to Lomna / Dave, you always say size is a big factor for cardiovascular health. Doesn't matter if it's fat or muscle. Then why are bodybuilders getting affected and not powerlifters or big strongmen? Also, do you think a natural bodybuilder should worry if he's above 240?
You know what? No one knows for sure what's going on. So, I mean, there are regular athletes dropping dead. There was a guy who died at the Brooklyn Marathon, half marathon, the other day. He was 30 years old. He dropped at the finish line. So it's people who are elite athletes that seem to be being affected by that. I can't really give you an answer why some people are dying and some people aren't, because I don't think anyone really knows what the problem is. It's all speculation too. It just seems to be very coincidental that since COVID and the vaccination came about, people seem to be having problems. But there's no obviously direct correlation in the sense that this causes this and this causes this and this leads to death. We don't have that. We can't trace that. We just have circumstantial evidence at this point. And I'm sure as we learn more, we're gonna find out exactly what's going on. But it does seem like guys who train at an elite level, bodybuilders push their bodies a lot harder than powerlifters in a different sense. Remember, the diet for the bodybuilder is much more severe. The low body fat is much more severe. The high cardio content is much more severe. And I almost think it could be the cardio aspect of it that maybe is, because it seems like a lot of the athletes that are doing high cardiovascular activity, are the ones dropping. So that could have something to do with it as well. But no one really knows for sure. That's the bottom line.
Let's go to upcoming pro. The question itself may come off as a bit of a homework assignment. So maybe if you want to answer from a general guideline perspective, how long would you recommend staying on low or no carb? And how would I know, based on my look or weight, that I have to do a higher carb day, not that I'm losing any muscle?
I vary carbs. Like I said, I kind of go by how the person looks. Like I have a guy who's, I just started dieting him. He's pretty lean, and he's like, he just looks really sucked out. And I just know intuitively, because I've been doing this a long time, that I got to feed him more carbohydrates. Whereas other people I see, I'm dieting guys and they look bloated, and I'm like, how is this guy bloated? He's only eating 100 grams or 120 grams of carbs a day. He needs to go lower, and he might need me to even pull some protein away from him because he just is too carbed up. Guys and girls can carb up on 50 grams of carbs a day, and then there's other guys that you can feed 400 grams of carbs a day, and they're completely depleted, glycogen depleted. It's amazing. So it's a person-specific type of thing. That's why, I always laugh when people say, oh, this coach always works on this particular diet. Yeah, well, everyone has their own little, what works for them, and then they start with that, but then everything changes because no one's body is the same. I don't have two clients that I could say have the exact same metabolism, and I work with a lot of people. I have a lot of clients that I get ready for shows on a regular basis or just diet down for transformations, and there's no two that are alike. They're all on different amounts of cardio. They're all eating different amounts of food. That's just the way it is. Everyone's body's different. Now, a lot of them start out the same, but then I have to modify it because their bodies just don't respond the same. And that's what being a good coach is about. It's about being willing to make changes and be able to make changes and go against the grain. I've done things this year that in 25 years prior to this, I didn't use. I'm always changing my methods around and trying new things. And if it works, it sticks. I'm not like one of these guys, I got to do it this way because I did it this way 20 years ago. No, that's not how it works. I do like, for women, I do like ketogenic diets. I think it works really well for them. And they seem to do very well in it because they don't feel bloated and they're not moody and their moods are stable. But then there's no sense in putting a man on a ketogenic diet if he can lose weight while he's eating carbs and fat, and protein. So once again, it really depends on who you're working with.
Original ad Victoriam Anavar dosage would test. I guess the two options would be split dose, AM or PM, say 25 and 25, or one larger dose per day, say 50.
Yeah, Anavar has it lasts almost the whole day. So, I would just take the whole dose in the morning. I'm not a big Anavar advocate for men. It's kind of weak. But most orals that are 17 alpha alkylated, like Winstrol and Anavar and Dianabol and Anadrol, Halotestin, they all pretty much last almost the whole day. They could have peaks and drops. But if you're taking half your Anavar in the morning and half at night, you're kind of splitting the dose. So I almost think that taking the whole dose in the morning gives you a nice big dose to do what it's got to do. And then if it wanes off a little toward the nighttime, that's fine. And you wake up in the morning, you do it again. I think that's absolutely fine to do. One dose.
Ups Viking. Interesting one here, only because, this is something that even I remember from back in the day reading some of the bodybuilding magazines, and I never heard of that really ever since. And that is a question about incorporating whole milk into diet. Did you do that in your heyday? What was the reason for or against this decision?
Yeah, when I was in college and I was a runner, believe it or not, I was drinking almost a gallon of skim milk every day. And they back then they had, I think it was in Pennsylvania, where they started Skim Milk Plus. So it was actually like skim milk, and I think then they put some more powdered skim milk in it. My stomach, I used to look like one of those Ethiopian people from like Africa that hadn't eaten in 20 days. My stomach would be so bloated out from the milk. But I think at that point in time, I was able to actually digest it because I never got like diarrhea or anything like that. Once I started bodybuilding, I got into my late 20s. That's when I started losing the ability to digest lactose. So I never really used milk after like 22 years old. Once I started using protein shakes and I realized how much better I assimilated protein shakes because there was no lactose in there, I never really used milk anymore. I never put it in anything, you know. Even if I would make cereal for myself, like, you know, because sometimes you get on these cereal kicks, especially after a show, I would mix water and whey protein together and just make my own milk out of it. And I would put it in there because I just felt like, you know what, if I'm not digesting the milk at 100% efficiency, which no one really is, because no one really is a good lactose digester, then I'm going to malabsorb some of the protein I'm eating. So I didn't want to lose the protein I was eating because I was adding milk to it. So it's kind of like adding like lighter fluid to your gasoline in your car. Well, I don't want to put, the gas is so expensive, I'll just put half lighter fluid and it's cheaper. You know what, you're going to kind of screw your car up if you do that, right? It's not going to run efficiently. So I kind of eliminated milk. Milk is kind of like the poor man's protein, I guess you could say. You know, they do sell in the store some of these lactate milks that are supposed to be lactose free. They still bother me as well. If I'm being realistic with people, I know whey protein isolates are a little more expensive, obviously, than buying a gallon of milk, but they're going to be so much better absorbed into your body efficiency-wise, and you're not going to get gas, you're not going to get diarrhea. You know, when that happens, that's a sign that your body is not assimilating the protein well and utilizing it well. So don't think you can cheap out. You get what you pay for. That's really the deal, unfortunately. And even some of the whey proteins they sell in these like price clubs and these like, you know, you buy a 10-pound sack of the stuff. A lot of that stuff is whey concentrate, which is pretty much almost skim milk with you know, some kind of flavoring system in it. So try to get, if you can afford it, whey isolate.
Bilal Hamide, we just asked another question about split or one dosage. Well, this is about meals. Eating 3 big meals versus 6 smaller meals for building muscle. So I guess maybe also depends on the phase that you're in. I've tried both and I saw no difference. Your thoughts?
Well, probably didn't eat enough food. That's the problem. You know, one of the things that amazed me that I found out, you know, was I was talking to a Japanese friend of mine, and we were talking about sumo wrestlers. And, you know, he's like, do you know how these sumo wrestlers, you know, get so fat, you know, so they can, you know, do their thing? I said, I imagine they don't stop eating all day long. He goes, no. He goes, they only eat like twice a day. He's like, but they eat massive amounts of food. I said, well, what are they eating? Like junk food? He goes, no. He goes, they eat like sushi and tons of rice, you know, tons of protein, but they eat it in 2 big, humongous meals. And I said, you know, that makes sense because when you don't eat throughout the day, you slow your metabolism down. Your metabolism actually shuts down. If anyone knows, if you've ever gone through this where you kind of like try to skip a bunch of meals during the day and then just eat your meals in the morning and at night, you get cold during the day because your body's metabolism shuts down. So if you want to build muscle and keep that metabolic rate cranking, you want to eat meals throughout the day because the act of eating stimulates the metabolism to actually amp itself up to handle the digestion of the food and assimilation of the food. So the best way to grow and the best way to burn fat is to eat multiple meals, you know, not excessively large amounts of meals, but moderate-sized meals throughout the day, whether they be shakes or meals, whatever. So for men, I find that 6 meals is ideal for the average person, and for women, 5 feedings a day is usually ideal too. When you go to less, usually you wind up getting fatter, believe it or not. You think, oh, I'm going to eat less food. I'm not. No, what happens is your metabolism shuts down, and that food that you eat gets stored because your metabolic rate is lower. And it's just the fact, I'm telling you. Why do you think bodybuilders, I tell this to people who come to me who have these eating disorders, I'm like, why do you think bodybuilders eat 6 meals a day and they're so lean? I said, because eating frequently works. It stimulates your metabolism and it helps you burn body fat. Eating less frequently, which is what most eating disordered people do, they save up their food and then they binge at night, leads to fat gain. Really fast too, because your metabolism is 0. Now you put 3,000, 4,000 calories into your body at night and you store 90% of that. So that's not the way to lose weight.
You squeeze in a couple of more questions. Black belt bodybuilding. Is it ever okay to mix 2 steroids in the same syringe?
All the time. Even water-based and oil-based, you can even mix together and just shake it up in the syringe. No problem whatsoever with that. And just, you know, make sure you swab off the rubber stopper on the vials when you stick the needle in. You don't want to put any bacteria in there. But absolutely, it's. I know a guy who was doing like 3 or 4 different shots every day because he was trying to separate all his drugs. Now, put them all in the same syringe, you know.
Last question from Jim Farley. If you could choose a bodybuilder or a fitness personality I mean, he says deceased and alive. Let's stick with the alive. We've had enough bad news in our sport for the last couple of years. One bodybuilder that's alive or a fitness personality that you have not yet interviewed yet that you would want to interview, and why?
Well, it's obvious. It's Arnold Schwarzenegger. So I still have not gotten an interview with him. He's really the only person I really haven't interviewed that I would have I would have liked to have interviewed Joe Weider, but he was kind of on the older side when I was doing my interviews. But Arnold, would be a guy that Stallone would be good too. But I think Arnold, you have to. I've done Lou Ferrigno, which is another hero of mine growing up as a kid, but Arnold would be the interview I'd want to do. I mean, who doesn't want to interview Arnold? I mean, that's the top dog. I actually interviewed Arnold's wife, Maria Shriver, backstage at the Arnold Classic one year, but I never got Arnold. I almost interviewed Arnold, but he was eating a meatball, and I think he got offended that I tried to start interviewing him. But other than that, Arnold Schwarzenegger for sure.
That's going to do for this episode of Ask Dave. Again, if you haven't already done so, subscribe below, hit the notification bell. If you like what you're watching, hit the like button, comment below. As always, we appreciate all of your support. Right now on the channel, all new episodes of Heavy Muscle Radio. Of course, yesterday's episode of After Hours. Later on in the week, of course, all new episode of Iron Rage with Lee Priest. And then Sunday night, we'll go live again with Heavy Muscle Radio. It'll be Dave, it'll be Chris Aceto, possibly John Romano, possibly Lee Priest, possibly a revolving door of guests coming through for Heavy Muscle Radio Live. And the best part of it all, so we get your live feedback, your live questions. It's a great time Sunday night, generally around 10:30 Eastern Standard Time. For Tyler Shore and Dave Palumbo, I'm Sadiq Faruqi. We'll see you next time.